So joining us now is Lane Gold with Kentucky Winner's Circle. Lane, we are hearing from multiple sources, and you can confirm this, that Forte has scratched the favorite.
He has scratched. He did go out for an unusual jog this morning. Then the state veterinarian met with both Todd Pletcher and Mike Rapoli. Now, poor Mike Rapoli's come to the Derby with two favorites, lost two of them, Uncle Mo and now Forte. So some bad luck for Mike Rapoli. But the vet took a very close look at Forte, had a very long meeting with Mike Rapoli and Todd Pletcher, and Mike Rapoli was pleading his case to please let my horse run, basically. And the vet just thought there was too much concern. What extent, I don't know. We weren't part of those conversations, but you can see Rapoli just trying to make his case for Forte to run. And the vet said there was obviously enough concern that he made the horse scratch out of the race just 5 minutes ago. So
we had Jeannie Reese was here, Darren Rogers were here. They watched Forte on the track this morning. They thought he looked good.
He probably, I think this started on Thursday. He jogged Thursday morning. He did a bobble. So basically he stumbled a little bit. And in and of itself, it's not a big deal, but because it's a Derby favorite, everything is scrutinized. And this is the biggest race in the country, and it's scrutinized. So yesterday morning, they looked at him. They adjusted his shoe on that foot where he did bobble a little bit. Seemed to jog okay. Pletcher was okay. But this morning, the vet checks every horse, to be fair, every horse in the morning. So it's not just they were picking on him, looking at all 20 or 19 horses. But they did an extensive look at him, looking at that foot in particular, that they put that adjusted horseshoe on. And obviously there was too much of a concern. The vet said, sorry, I'm going to have to scratch him.
We've had 4 horses scratch before, but 5. This is a lot.
This is a record. This would be a record because the last time we had 4 horses scratch from the field. Now, 4 horses were scratched in 2015, but that was one on the also eligible list. This time it was 4 in the field, which was 1936. Now you're talking about 5 out of the field. Highly unusual. And to boot, it was a Derby favorite. So this is really remarkable territory and sad because I think I was on the Forte bandwagon, and frankly, I thought all year everyone's looking for reasons to knock him off and knock him down a peg or two. He beat every concern they had about him, but physically something just went wrong. And unfortunately, that's Derby luck. That's part of luck. It's got to get you into the gate and win the race. He just couldn't get past that last hurdle.
How much of this do you think is the current environment in the sport and the concern that the protection of the animals? I mean, things that have gone on here in the last 10 days, the unfortunate breakdowns and deaths. And for the bigger picture, this is the biggest horse race on the planet. And all the different issues that have happened within this race in the last few years, is this, even if they're erring on the side of caution just in case, how much of it do you think is that?
I think it's so. I think in this race in particular, they're always very cautious. And I think, listen, the state veterinarian works for the Commonwealth of Kentucky, not Churchill Downs. So Churchill Downs did what they think was best to suspend trainer Safi Joseph earlier in this week. This was done by the state of Kentucky. The vet decided the horse was not fit to run today. I think the vet did what's in the best interest of the horses. I don't know if it's more scrutiny because of things that have happened this week. Right. You could debate that, but I think the vet puts the horse's well-being before anything else. He obviously thought there was something not right with him, no matter what Mike Rapoli might have said, no matter what he's seen as he galloped, or what Todd Pletcher said. He did what is in his best judgment. And that's why, obviously, he's been removed from the race today.
And you look at each scratch individually. Are they connected in any way?
I don't think so, because listen, the vet does their checks, and the vet will make a determination if the horse is suited to run. Some horses got sick, got a temperature, or the trainer and the owner didn't think the horse was training right or wasn't right. Individually, they're probably not connected, but there were probably a couple that the vet decided just wasn't right. But you know what? In the long term, it's the best decision, because the worst thing that we could see is a horse get injured or severely injured during a race, and they're going to go back and say, why did you let the horse run? So in the moment, it hurts. It's a shame, because Forte probably would have been hard to beat today. But in the long term, no-brainer. If the horse is even remotely not 100%.
A lot of pressure on that vet, right?
Yeah, but
erring on the safe side.
Exactly, because if you don't run him, no matter what, he's safe. But if you run him, if anything goes wrong, then you always second-guess yourself. I could have stopped this before it ever started.
Exactly, and I think that's where the vet goes in his mind and saying, okay, what do we do? If I see anything wrong slightly, do I? And I think the vet did the right thing in taking the emotion out of it, the fact he's the favorite out of it. Because you can kind of say, well, he's the favorite, maybe we should give him it. No, you can't. It's like taking politics out of things. Literally, it's looking at, here's a horse, here's how he physically looks, and here's my examination. If he doesn't seem right, pull him out. And that's obviously what he elected to do.
Now we're down to a field of 18.
The Derby favorite, Forte, is scratched. Takes a lot of people's wagers and how they were going to bet today.
Absolutely. And mine as well.
Forte, what are you going to do now? Who do you like?
Well, I'm still going to stay in Todd Pletcher's barn. I'm not jumping off that bandwagon. I think Tapit Trice was my second horse. He'd been really getting better and better, I thought, this year. And I think there's enough speed up front that's going to help set up for him. And I think there's a lot to like about him. And listen, I've been staring at this race for weeks. I couldn't get past Tapit Trice. I couldn't get past Forte. And I looked around last night and said, okay, if Forte does scratch, as the rumors have been floating for a few days, who do I go to? And Tapit Trice was still who I landed on. I could at least feel confident, like I like him. Once you get beyond the first 2 or 3, I had a hard time really saying I really like. He was my third or fourth horse. Not this year. Yeah. It's been a very tough year. Sometimes there were 4 or 5 horses who were just saying, oh, they're coming to the race great, and I love them. For me, no one grabbed me, just these 2. So now down to 1.